A beautiful Wednesday morning. It's the 3rd of June 2026. You're welcome to this morning's edition of AM120. I am Oluwafunbi Bello saying welcome.
And I am Victor Opene. Welcome you right here this morning to another magnificent time out as we actually discuss everything happening across the country.
And of course, the recent happening in Nigeria, talking of the Oriri abduction, and we've seen a wave of protests across several states in the country, and we are still hopeful, that those pupils and teachers will be released very soon. All right, we take you through the dailies, and this morning I have the Nigerian Tribune with me. On the front page, of course, the abduction story. We have teachers' protests spread over school abductions, and the writer says, hold in Kogi, Lagos, Kwara, Rivers, Benue, Edo, Oyo, Ondo, Osun, Cross River, FCT, NANS, NLC join in solidarity. Senate reps condemn attack, warn against politicizing insecurity. Our priority is safe return of our students, not politics, and that's coming from Governor Makinde. CAN declares 3-day national mourning, June 14, Black Sunday, demands state of emergency on security. All those stories are on page 3. And of course, on the front page, we have pictures of the protest in Oyo State on the left side. And on the right side, we have protest also in Rivers State with the Commissioner for Education in Rivers State, yes, and members of the Nigerian Union of Teachers during a peaceful protest on abducted Oyo teachers and students in Port Harcourt. While the one in Oyo State, we have the state governor, Engineer Seyi Makinde, addressing the National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS, Nigeria Union of Teachers, NUT, and the Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, during the protest to Governor's Office, Secretariat Ibadan, on the abduction of teachers and pupils in Oriri local government area of Oyo State yesterday. Moving on to page 5, private sector growth hits 9-month high despite cost pressures, and that's according to a report. INEC probes insider breach of CVR database to hand over culprits for legal actions. And that story is on page 4. And on page 7, UN budget crisis tops agenda as Nigeria's Jimoh Ibrahim takes helm of key UN committee. Moving on to page 10, EFCC, Lamido clash over witness in 1.35 billion naira fraud trial. And on page 4, 13 reps dump APC, PDP after party primaries. 6 Oyo lawmakers, 1 from Bauchi, join APM. Kingsley Chinda resigns as minority leader. And on page 10, ADC crisis. Aregbesola asks new judge to withdraw from Nafiu Bala Gombe's suit. And lastly, on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune, we have a health report on page 13. New antibiotic-free strategy to prevent newborn meningitis. And that's according to researchers. Taking some of the inside stories. Moving on to page 24, where we have Entrepreneurship Digest, Currency of Culture, how Oju the Oba Festival powers multi-billionaire economic engine in Ogun State. And talking of crime, but before we move on to that, we have a commercial break. We'll be right back after this. Please stay with us.
Ní ìgbà kan rí, ilẹ̀ kan wà tí kò ní adùn mọ́. Oúnjẹ ti pàdánù adùn rẹ̀, kò sì sí ohun tí a lè tún fi gbádùn mọ́. Ní ìgbà náà ni taste maker yọdé láti dá adùn padà sí ilẹ̀ àìládùn yìí. Gbogbo ohun tí ó ṣe ni ó wọ́n, ó rò ó sì bù ú. Láti ìgbà náà lọ, wọ́n mọ òtítọ́ kan. Gbogbo ohun tí wọ́n nílò ni wíwọ́n, rírò àti bíbù.
Taste maker.
Progress no dey happen just like that. It dey come from support when you need am.
Mommy, I got the school fees. You too much.
Na money point o.
Money point, thank you.
Customer, na transfer abi? Confirm.
Bro, na transfer.
Na money point oga. Oh, na confirm.
Progress na peace of mind when you know say payment go land Assure Banker. Progress na small wind where they carry person go far.
No worry, yourself go make am. Go Bible.
Victor, even you they use money point?
Of course now, they use money point.
Confirm.
Money Point, made for your progress.
All right, thank you very much for staying with us. Still on the newspaper review and on the Nigerian Tribune on page 26, we have some crime stories. The police arrest 38 foreign nationals in Ogun, transfer them to NIS, debunk false banditry alerts in Ota, Ifo axis. Troops arrest suspected terrorists, logistics supplier in Borno. Attack on Soludo's COS, death toll rises to 4. Plateau killings, 8 victims laid to rest. And on page 27, federal government inaugurates Interministerial Committee for 2026 Democracy Day celebration. Police declare 6 IPOB members wanted over protest in Abia State. Group raises alarm over surge in nicotine products. NPC Oyekiti local government controller retires. And 2026 Hajj, or your first badge, I beg your pardon, or your first second batch pilgrims set for return June 5. And lastly, on sports, we have Lewandowski will start against Eagles, and that's coming from Poland. Coach. And that's all on the Nigerian Tribune this morning. Victor, over to you.
Well, I've got the Vanguard newspaper right here with me this morning, and I've got interesting stories. 13 reps switch parties. Chinda resigns as minority leader. You find that story on page 9. On that same page, you have reps call for immediate funding of NCDC amid rising Ebola threat. On page 10, court holds coroner's inquest into death of Chimamanda's son. On page 19, manufacturers' alternative energy expenditure surges 71.4% to 1.34 trillion naira in 2 years. And on page 8, we have 2 stories. INEC data leaks sparks row. Emeka Ike threatens action against Wike's aide, Olayinka. We also have this one. Insecurity. Declare security emergency now. Can't tells federal government. Now to the major story. Oyo Borno kidnappings. More pressure on federal government and governors to rescue abducted school children. See more of that story on page 5. But the writers says as NUT, NLC, nuns, CSOs protest nationwide. Reps seeks urgent rescue of abducted Oyo Borno school children, pushes for state police, school security reforms. Marking vows safe return of abducted teachers, pupils, establishment of military base in Oyo communities, receiving urgent consideration, says Tinubu. And security agencies can track, locate bandits, says Buratai. Akpabio says Oyo abduction is an assault on our collective humanity. We have on page 14, Operation Safe Corridor, between justice for victims and mercy for terrorists. And we have this one on page 10, Adeboye to security chiefs, end terror in 90 days or resign. Now flipping to what we have on the inside pages of this newspaper. We have on page 4, accolades and encomiums as Zamfara marks 3 years of Governor Dauda Lawal's rescue mission. And on page 6, we have Ibrahim elected UN Budget Admin Committee Chairman. We need protection from police, army. Aleko residents cry out over alleged bandits' presence. Police debunk claims are show negotiations of adequate security. Police arrest 4 suspected cultists, recover firearms in Lagos. Plateau attack tears anger as 8 victims are laid to rest. Criminal allegations. Police invite man who shared video on extrajudicial killing of Ogenemine. And we have kidnapped monarch. Kwara community seeks government intervention. Now to this one on page 7. Prostitution's no job. Trafficking survivors warn Nigerian girls. And we have stories right here on page 9. US to slash visa processing embassies in Africa retain 20 herbs. All right, we have some more right here on page 10. Abductions. Parents panic as Adeleke dispels Osun school bandit scare. Parents pick children from schools. Osun police warn against fake news. No school breach in Ondo, says police. And experts warn against fake news and misinformation. Police deny banditry in Ota, Ifo. Clarify arrest of 38 foreigners. On page 11, Igbo women tell governors to end children's kidnappings. And it's just more stories about that. We have police arrest 3 over murder of Futo students. And it's on that same page 11. Well, flipping on to what we have right here. We have worry delineation. Activist accuses INEC officials of orchestrating electoral fraud. And on page 13, kidnapping, deploying telecom intelligence is best solution. And there's someone saying the federal government must stop treating telecom data as mere background info. Security must use telecom resources intelligently. The NCC and telcos are saying we have always provided critical details to security. And that's an interesting update right there. Okay. There's more about kidnappings and banditry on page 14. Operation Safe Corridor between justice for victims and mercy for terrorists. It flows on to page 15. And of course, I'll flip from there to page 20. World Bank targets leakages, strengthens customs audit operations in Nigeria. And CBN NSW team deepen collaboration on project delivery. Okay, now we have more stories on page 28. Cholera. Borno records 274 new cases as toll aids 4,204. Governor Idris to review primary teachers' minimum wage. Security agencies can track and locate bandits, says Buratai. And technology now Africa's biggest maritime asset and threat. Matawale Ogala raised alarm. Okay, and we have 29 on page 29. Judicial reforms key to Nigeria's democratic stability, says Supreme Court Justice. Okay, and we have this one, foundation to graduate 100 youth award business grants in Lagos. And 7,000 Amajiri children benefit from BAF Customs outreach. Now to the sports page on page 31. Friendly, Iwobi Lewandowski chase history as Nigeria-Poland clash. Semenyo party top list as Ghana name World Cup squad. Brentford promotes Eagles Frederick to first team. Federation Cup last 16. Eyimba Rivers United face tough test. Nigeria's cricketers report to camp ahead of international assignments. And we have 2026 Commonwealth Games national trials set for Lagos. Friendly, Oshuala, 2 others arrived Super Falcons Ikene camp as Senegal named formidable squad. And on French Open, Swiatek's conqueror, Kostiyuk powers into semis. We have more stories also on the back page. And of course, we have the Diamond League, where Favor Philly draws lane 2 for Rome meeting. And of course, there is a list of today's friendly games. And of course, results from yesterday's games, including the 2026 Under-17 AFCON final, where Senegal won on penalties 4-2 after a 1-0 draw with Tanzania in regulation time. And that is as much as we can take on the newspaper review segment this morning. We'll go on now for some weather report. We'll return shortly afterwards.
The gold standard of rice, the finale. High swelling index, non-sticky, no stones. Big Bull Gold, the gold standard of rice.
In today's fast-paced world, staying ahead demands peak performance from our bodies.
Like never before, our bodies need an optimum supply of essential nutrients, and Supermalt supports our daily nutritional needs.
Supermalt has 20 essential vitamins, minerals, and natural extracts for overall health and wellness. One Supermalt a day gives you energy and vitality, improves your mental performance, and supports your immunity.
Still AM120, and this morning we will be analyzing the President and Governor Seyi Makinde's assurances, talking of the Orire abduction incident. And of course, we saw a protest happened in some parts of the country yesterday. And of course, during the newspaper review this morning, we mentioned that protests was held in Kogi, Lagos, Kwara, Rivers, Benue, Edo, Oyo, Ondo, Osun Cross River, and the FCT. And of course, listening to, your state in particular, we had the National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS. We had National Union of Teachers, NUT. And of course, we have the Nigerian Labour Congress and some parents who were out on the streets of Ibadan and of course marched to the government secretariat, Agodi, to speak with the governor. And of course, we all heard what the governor said yesterday. But taking some of the excerpts from the governor's statement, the governor called for a united response to the abduction of the pupils and teachers. And when addressing protesters yesterday, Governor Makinde described the situation as a period of national distress, stressing that this is not the time for blame game or a time to play politics. To do justice to this conversation this morning, we have Dr. Adekunle Onile. He's a former council chairman in Ogbomoso area. Doctor, good morning. Sir.
Good morning.
It's good to have you. Accessing what Governor Makinde said yesterday, just what I read out now, what do you make of that statement? Do you also agree with the governor?
Yeah, perfectly. You see, uneasy lie the head that wears the crown. And rightly, the buck stopped at the governor and the president's table when it comes to providing security for the citizen. But unfortunately, the type of security varies because people don't differentiate when it comes to just generally claiming that security issues are not properly addressed by those in government. General security that involves normal crime detection, prevention, yeah, those are regular, and it's easy to take government, hold government accountable for such. But when it comes to terrorism and insurgency, that is a different ballgame. And that is where as citizens, we have to show some understanding. Because no matter what, these are predictable. Although there should have been proactive measures on the ground.
When you say citizens should show some understanding, what kind of understanding are you requesting from citizens?
Yes.
Let's also not forget, before you answer that question, that the Oriri abduction is not the first we'll be experiencing in Nigeria.
Precisely.
In fact, last year we experienced, a lot of kidnap of children, school kidnap. We saw what happened in Kebbi State last year also, where some school children were also kidnapped. Till date, we are still talking of Chibok girls, and not all of them were released. How do you think Nigerians should be patient with the government?
Yeah, you see, the current wave of protest and criticism is rightly placed. Don't get me wrong. That is part of citizens' responsibility, which they are, of course, carrying out presently. But what I'm saying is that crime prevention and crime detection and government responsibilities varies. That is, it's not a blanket thing that people should just assume that, if you look at it from this point of view that I want to state now, I agree with you that these have been ongoing for some time now, and it's rampant. So which means that government ought to have been proactive. They should have had certain measures or be expectant, in quotes, that there are possibilities of such crime happening. But you see, sometimes in life, surprises do happen. If you look at it, one might say, this terrorism was initially limited to a particular part of the country, which is the northern part. So But now it seems the terrorists are getting emboldened. They are now coming down south and to the even southeast. Because I have a friend who was boasting like 2 weeks ago that southeast is not having such problem. But 3-4 days ago, there were rumors. So whether true or false, at least it's like it's getting around the whole country. So government have a responsibility to anticipate. I agree completely with that.
Doctor, now, we are seeing a situation where parents, and not just the parents of the ones still in captivity, but parents across the country, teachers, are not asking for statements anymore. They are looking for their loved ones.
Yes.
Now, we're looking at a situation where we recognize that when the citizens are afraid, what does assurances do? This is a huge one. It's a huge conversation that we must have. And now some people are already pointing at the psychological effect of assurance fatigue, if there's a way we can put that. Because in Plateau State, last year, we had assurances. Up to now, we have not seen something come from that assurance. Earlier on, we have seen different spades of attacks and assurances given, but nothing. Not too long ago, they reported that a certain teacher had the ransom paid after he was abducted. The ransom was paid, but he was already killed. So, what do you think Nigerians will do now? Because we already see Nigerians doing differently now from what the government is trying to assure us about.
Yeah, you see, in a situation like this, I think I've had a little bit of experience in government too. When you are overtaken by volcano, and the only thing you can do is to run, and then tell those who are following, maybe your family member, that all of you are trying to escape, that we will make it. Actually, assurance do a lot, but it's not, like I said, what the citizens are expecting. Just like you rightly said, assurance will not. We've had over assurances, too much of assurances, and that it doesn't make any sense again when government say, we assure you we are on top of the situation, or we assure you we'll get them back. You understand? But tell me, what alternative can the government say, if not assurance? Because the reason is this: government cannot tell you more than what they are saying, which is that we are going to get them. You understand? We are going to make sure your children come back alive.
I understand that point. But, Doctor, let me give you a situation now. Today's dailies, you have read several locations in different states where nothing was happening, but people were given information that bandits are already in this place, they are in this place, they are abducted in this place, down to Ogun State, Ondo State, different states. And people were running at skater. In my area yesterday, I got to my area yesterday evening, and lo and behold, I found out that several people locked up their homes very early. Why? Because someone passed an information that somewhere in that area
they are bandits.
Now, the question is, when there is repeated, we are on top of the situation. We have seen it over the years. It looked like Yoruba would say, okay, Latin will bote there. But then look at it, staring at us in our faces. People in Ibadan being affected. So how long will people say, we have to go ahead and take this matter into our own hands? Because it looks like we have to spread information as fast as possible. And now there's a problem of false information.
You see, this idea of false information, we should look at it critically. I think it's dangerous. Because, let me use this analogy. There's one story like that when we were young, that the boy who cried wolf. You understand? The first time, he said, wolf, wolf, everybody. The whole community ran out. The second time, again, he said, wolf, wolf. There was no wolf. Nothing was happening. He was just deriving pleasure. from doing that. So he keep on doing it repeatedly. Now, unfortunately, there was an instance when a real wolf came to the village. The boy was also the first person to see it. So he shouted, "Wolf, wolf, wolf." Nobody answered. Everybody kept to their houses because they thought it is the usual cry of wolf where there is none. You understand? So that's why I said, and it's in our own system of psychology as people that once people hear of one incident like this, they see it as a way of keeping to safety. So they multiply it. They start spreading it around. At least in the past few days now, since that incident happened in Orire and some other places, almost every day now people raise false alarms. You understand? And this is very, very serious. Because like I said, it can even distract from the real issue and from people even being proactive. You understand? Where the citizens have a role to play is this. When there is a problem, we face it together. You don't say that is government responsibility alone. And the only way to face it together is still vigilante. All of us have to be vigilant. Not just assuming that there is government there to protect us now. That is funny. How many towns, how many locations can government forces start by all over the country? That is impractical. That is impossible. People forget all this. You understand? Because this bandit will not strike in the same place. They change tactics, they change location. And that is very important. But where they will fail or not succeed depends on... Okay, look at what happened. The Baale of Yawota, the other town in Orire, was quoted in an interview as saying that he noticed strange movement before the incident happened. Now, he didn't raise any alarm. That's still part of civic failure. You understand now? So these are some of the things we are talking about. The government have its own response. The people themselves, because Nigerians are always very complacent, they are always thinking what needs to be done should be done by somebody else. We're not saying government have no responsibility. That is why we elected them. That is why they are getting security vote. That is why we all put our assurances in them. But the point still remains that that is not absolute. The citizen has a role to play in that, in security. Security is the business of everybody. That is what I'm trying to say. So.
All right, Doctor, we have a commercial break, and when we return, we'll continue with the conversation. Please stay with us.
When malaria knocks you down, you can be sure parasites are having a party in your system.
Welcome to our new kingdom, guys!
Comau, an effective weapon against malaria. Attacking the parasite army directly to give you express relief and get you back on your feet effectively. Comau on malaria gone.
Progress no dey happen just like that. It dey come from support when you need am.
Mommy, I got the school fees. You too much.
Na money point o.
Money point, thank you.
Customer, na transfer abi? Confirm.
Bro, na transfer.
Na money point oga. Oh, na confirm.
Progress na peace of mind when you know say payment go land as Sure Banker. Progress na small wind where they carry person go far.
No worry, yourself go make am. Go Bible.
Victor, even you they use money point?
Of course now, they use money point.
Confirm.
Money point, made for your progress.
Good, tasty food is worth living for. Worried about your oil? every time you enjoy your favorite meal? Introducing Smart Balance. Smart Balance Rice Bran Oil is rich in Gamma Original. Golden Terra Smart Balance Oil reduces bad cholesterol.
All right, thank you very much for staying with us. We're still analyzing the President and Governor Makinde's assurances over Oriri abduction. And before we went on that break, Doctor, it felt like you were, pushing the responsibility of the government on the citizens. Now, we understand that the citizens, we talk about when you see something, say something. But does it not also talk about the trust the people have on the government? For instance, we've heard and seen instances where, someone tries to render an assistance, maybe an accidented individual, or someone who is sick. You try to render an assistance, and unfortunately, the person lost their life in the course, and, it became a legal issue, a legal battle. And people just feel like, why should I render help when, the security apparatus would also accuse me of killing this individual? Now, in a situation where there is no trust between the government and the people, what should be done? How should, the people move on in trusting the government, in helping with security?
Now, don't get me wrong. First and foremost, I said it is the duty of government to provide security for the people. That is why we entrusted our resources with them. It's a collective resource, and we felt, okay, manage it on our behalf. Now, not managing that resources is where government, to me, culpability lies. Well, but actualizing resources deployed lies with the populace. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. You see, it is not the governor, for example, now, or the president, for example, now, who will be at the scenes of implementations. It is all of us. It is the workers, the civil servants. These are actually the engine of growth. It's all of us. We have like a dassic attitude to our responsibilities. Yeah. Some people get paid. We are talking about the police. Yes, police get paid salaries to do certain jobs. You go to them to go and make report, and they are so like a dassic. Because is that a fault of government too? And if it is just one policeman that is doing that, I hope you are listening very well. If it's just one that is doing that, we might say that one policeman should be disciplined. But that is the general trend all over the country. And then you ask yourself, why is it difficult to stop this? Because it's not this particular or present government that this thing is happening. It has been happening over many governments. We've had, when Buhari first came, he was sounding tough and making sure you understand. But the people who actualized frustrated the whole thing. So, you see, when you are in government, you find it in fact, you become a realist. But outside government, you think anything is doable. But within the system, you will discover that people will frustrate the other.
All right, talking of, not just its administration that is experiencing this issue, of course, we know that it's been dated back even as far back as 15 years ago, talking of insecurity. But let's look at this report, talking of conflict-related fatalities 3 years into each administration. And let's date it back to as far back as Chief of Obasanjo's tenure. From May 1999 to May 2002, we had 7,522 fatalities. Talking of Yar'Adua's tenure, May 2007 to May 2010, we had 4,889 fatalities. During Jonathan's tenure, 7,400 fatalities. During Buhari's tenure, that's May 2015 to May 2018, we had 7,319 fatalities. Now, talking of the president, the current administration's tenure, looking at May 2023 to May 2026, we're talking about 35,432 fatalities. Now, in just the first 3 years of Tinubu administration, conflict-related violence claimed 35,432 lives. Now, that 36-month toll was 15,621 deaths, higher than the combined total recorded during the first 3 years of Obasanjo, Yar'Adua, and Jonathan's administration put together, and that's 19,811 fatalities higher. Now, when we have this administration recording the highest number of fatalities, putting together the number we've recorded from Obasanjo's tenure down to last administration, way higher, what lapses should we begin to talk about? Where is the issue coming from? Why are these people finding Nigeria so safe to operate, and we've not been able to flush them out?
Well, thank you. You see, if you want to answer that question correctly, it has to be holistic. Holistic in the sense that I'm always a realist when it comes to certain issues. In the sense that insecurity is global. Whereas in some climes, it is minimal or manageable. In some climes, it is way above the median. Now, to expect that over a time period, insecurity can be compared, no. It depends on the circumstance. It depends on what happened, when, and how. It depends on, mind you, if the general population is increasing, towns are getting larger and expanding. So we expect all these things to have ripple effects. You understand what I'm trying to say? Now, there are many more mouths to feed. The employment rate is increasing. These are all valuable data that we ought to compare when we are actually analyzing a particular scenario. But yes, in some climes, or the goal of development, the goal of government, a good and responsible government, is to reduce these parameters, to reduce the statistics during their own tenure, and even lay a good foundation for the future. But the problem still remains that you might have, during a particular tenure of government, low security problem. But when another government comes in, it may not be out of laxity, but somehow they were unlucky that at that point in time, certain things happen. You understand?
So what certain things happened between the past administration
and the present
administration?
Okay, now, you see, the present administration came into power knowing fully well. In fact, I remember the first speech of Obasanjo. He centered highly on security. And during the regime of Muhammadu Buhari, I remember whenever I come to the program here, it has always been my own priority to stress when people talk about what can we do to improve. I said our first problem is security. An insecure country will never develop because it's a recipe for so many things. You understand? Insecurity will also bring corruption. It is interwoven. Corruption will bring insecurity. Insecurity will bring corruption. You understand what I'm trying to say? So all these things are not isolated. But what is the way forward? How do we expect government to approach it? Now, let me use the present scenario, if I'm permitted. The present scenario now is that immediately this thing happened in Orire. You understand? To the best of my knowledge, the government took over. They were proactive. No doubt about that. Let's be fair. And immediately they swung into action. The security personnel moved into the area. And they started doing their thing. But the situation, people who are not analyzing the situation very well. It's like people expect the security personnel to just go and stop. That's the word. Because I was at the secretariat yesterday where the protest was going on. And what I hear people saying was very, of course, understandable but funny. Like, why do we have the military? The military should go there and storm the place. And I say, who? We are going to have collateral damages, plenty. Do you think those people you are going to meet there are just waiting for you to just come and shoot them and kill them and then release the kids? No, it doesn't happen that way. If it is a group of terrorists, not kidnappers this time, that's a difference, that are hiding there, it is easy for government to go there and bomb the place, as they are doing in some parts of the north. But here we have children. Somebody said, maybe we should sacrifice the children. I said, what? If they are your own child. Will you say that?
We heard Borno State Governor, talking about abductors and abductees. He said he's tired of paying ransom.
Yeah.
And, he doesn't even mind, to sacrifice. They should just make sure they clear the terrorists. And, of course, the abductees would be involved also, unfortunately. And he said he would rather use the money for ransom to compensate the families involved. Now, do you think that's also a very good tactic in terms of rescue operations?
Yeah, you see, it is in some areas. That's why I said, when I talk, I don't generalize. I look at situation according to how it is. Now, in this particular case of Oyo State, it's not as if the terrorists have not been, their location have not been identified. The security people know exactly where they are. Exactly where they are. But they don't have to start giving out all the information to the general public. Even they monitor them on a daily basis. They are watching them through drones. I got that privileged information. You understand? But to the people, it's just like they want it to happen immediately, the rescue. No, it takes some statics. It takes some, in fact, even delay, though it is dangerous, it's a two-pronged thing. It's part of the psychological warfare against the terrorists. Because what I mean by that is this. The terrorists themselves are getting weary. They are, you see, it's not that easy to keep children and be watching over children. It is a task that they themselves are put.
Doctor, I understand, understanding that you have information, some of this classified information, but we wouldn't really want you to also put it out there, for the safety of these children.
And that's what I
teachers,
said.
and of
I'm
course,
not doing that.
Yeah, but looking at a few days ago, the president deployed 1,000 forest guards to strengthen security to Orire local government. And of course, talking of this Orire abduction. Now, what do you think is, do you think it's a good development from the president's angle, talking of 1,000 forest guards? Do you think it will help in hastening the rescue of these pupils and teachers?
Of course, yes. I remember that this idea of forest guard came up during the period of the Niger State, because you see, adoption. Because what is happening in Niger State is what is trickling down south to Oyo State now.
Doctor, before you go ahead in answering that question, we have a commercial break and we'll be right back. Please stay with us.
Cadbury 3-in-1 hot chocolate, the treat you deserve.
All right, thank you very much for staying with us. We are still talking about Orire stages, analyzing President Tinubu and Governor Makinde's assurances. And of course, before we went on that break, Doctor, we're talking about the deployment of 1,000 forest guards by the president. And I was asking, how significant is this intervention in addressing the issue?
This has been in the pipeline before even this Orire adoption saga. And it is a sign that at least government is not sleeping. Once these things are happening, they are learning every day from it. And they are putting up certain measures. So I believe that presently, those in government are learning. No government wants insurrection. That is for sure. So I'm sure they are not just sleeping idly, as many people think. You understand? They are mapping out strategies to overcome all this. But the point still remains that my opinion is that the population should be calm a bit. We should allow the security personnel to do their job. We should not stampede them into taking or making hasty decisions. I know it is dangerous because the more those children, I even pity those children. Because even if the bandits don't kill them, sickness and malaria and so many things and cold can kill them. These are some of the risks. You understand? So it is a dilemma for government. It's not as if people thought, because if those children die there,